Hello Mountain Grove, this is your awesome keyboard player, Tracy Pyle. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody's paying attention down there. Everybody look up here. All right, here we go. The church started a creative team, and I was asked to be on it. And what our goal as a creative team is to take the sermons that God gives to Cliff, and we take those sermons and we read them, and we try to find different ways through either audible or visual, signage or stage setups, videos, all different kinds of methods to reach you as a congregation in a different way, because we all learn different. Some of you learn visually, some of you learn by hearing. So we try to come up with different ways to do that. In early August of this year, Cliff had sent out an email talking about reset and talking about how he thought it was time for our church to basically to get moving on again, because we had been in such I'd say a quote-unquote depressive state where we had focused on all the negative financial things that had happened in our church regarding the bankruptcy, that it was time to put the past in the past and to move on. Well, as part of the creative team, he sends us those messages in advance. And back in August, he sent us the Reset series. Well, the way it worked, he had 4 messages in the Reset series, but I only got one. The first 3 never came. And of course, the first 3 were, the circumstances, vision, and purpose. Well, commitment was the only one that I received. So I waited a while and waited for the rest of them to come, and they never showed up. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and read this one and see what it says. So late one night, early one morning, it was around midnight, I sat down to read Cliff's sermon, and it was like it had my name all over it. I mean, I sat there and I read the sermon, and I just wept, because I knew that what he was talking about in that sermon on commitment was exactly what I wasn't doing. And that here I was reading a sermon in August that God was already taking Cliff's message, and he was already ministering to me through it. As soon as I got done with the sermon, I sent an email to Cliff, and I'm going to read you that email that I sent Cliff. It says, "Dear Cliff, so I just want to tell you as a part-time staff member, but more so as a parent and a husband and a leader to my family, that I have failed miserably in this area of commitment. My heart has been set on the path so many times to give properly and out of obedience and out of goodness, but I've always fallen off that path and been drawn to buy more toys that I claim that I'm going to use for Christ, and end up using my money in other places. In short, I have really screwed up as a spiritual leader of my family in this aspect. I know that God has forgiven me, but as I write this email and sit and just weep with tears falling all over the keyboard, I want to ask you to forgive me for not being obedient to your biblical teachings. I know that you honestly don't know, or you don't care who gives or who gives not. But lately I've become more of a user and a give not than putting God's money where it belongs. And I'm sorry. Your message pricked me like a spear and reminded me how sufficient God is, and how His love abounds, and that His grace covers my entire multitude of sins. Wendy and I have talked about this weight on our shoulders, being bound by debt because of mostly my own stupid choices. So today I traded in my H2 Hummer simply because it was totally wasting any money that I could have used for God and for His ministries. I bought it with the so-called intention of taking others out to eat and on trips and things like that, trying to justify it. But I quickly realized that the $75 to $80 I was using in fuel every 3 days, and the over $600 payment that I was paying for a car payment, that it had me strangled, and it had a hold on me. But I want you to know that today, those chains and that bond has been loosed, and I am free, and I am free, 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 and I am free. Satan is not getting me into this mess again, because this mess belongs to God. I love you. Wendy and I have been giving faithfully now since I sent that email to our pastor. And although it hasn't rose yet to the level where we can tithe, we knew that we had to start somewhere. So in talking about this commitment today, and this last sermon on Miracle Sunday, if you're not giving anything right now, why don't you start somewhere and give something? If you're giving some already, and maybe it's still not risen to the level that you think God wants it to be, try to give a little bit more. And if you're a family who's already faithfully tithing, and God has blessed you, and you've been prosperous, why not give a sacrificial gift? Why not bring a sacrifice of praise today when we have our time of offering, and trust that God has the right people in place to manage the money. Once I give it to God, I don't care what happens to it, because I know that God has put the right people on staff to make sure it gets used in the right way. It's not my concern, because I've gave it to God, and I know God is going to make sure it gets used the right way. My name is Tracy Pyle, and me and my family have reset our commitment.